Hey guys, welcome to Car Guy 1999 Reviews as well as Quirk Auto Dealers. Today we're taking a look at the 2020 Kia Stinger, the GT line and the GT. We're going to go ahead, compare and contrast a little bit, see which one has what features and what you get in both models. The GT line is the new name for the 2.0 Stinger, the 4-cylinder. The GT has remained with the twin-turbo V6, pushing out 365 horsepower. The 2.0 is no slouch, however, with over 250 horsepower, and it flies. Some of the differences you can notice right off the bat is the wheels are a tiny bit smaller on the GT, while maintaining the same design, or on the GT line, maintaining a similar design as the GT. The specific GT is the GT2 trim, so it comes with the electronic shifter. The normal GT would have a shifter much like that one there. Once we're on the road, we're going to get a bit more in depth with the features of the interior. Another big feature you can notice right off the bat is the different headlights. GT2 has a much more, how do I say this, much more luxurious headlight design. I'm not saying the GT line is bad, it looks really good, but it's one of those things where if you see a Stinger on the road and you notice the headlights, you'll be able to tell which one has the V6 and which one is the 2-liter. Other than that, really, they look very much the same. Sticker price on this GT2 is $54,635. Really nice interior design. You can see that electronic shifter. Just a really, really nice car overall. We're gonna start with driving the GT line. Both of these are all-wheel drive. Back seat area is really, really nice still. This one is $36,535, so almost $20,000 difference. But without further ado, let's go ahead, take these two guys on the road and see which one is, well, what each one's like. We'll compare and contrast how they drive. And yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm a huge fan of the Stinger, so this is a project of love mostly. So let's go ahead and drive the GT line. All right, behind the wheel of the Stinger GT line. This, I cannot sit here and get out of my mind that this is the entry-level Stinger. It's so good from a start. I mean, you sit here and after you drive it, you're sitting in the back of your mind saying, how can they improve upon this? But they do. And it is fantastic. How I look at the Stinger GT line versus the Stinger GT, think of it as the GT line is up against the BMW base 3 Series, so like the 328, the 335. That's kind of what the Stinger GT line is like. Whereas the Stinger GT is the M3. They're two totally different cars catered for very different people, but they're not that far apart. Let me explain. So the interior here, you're not sitting in here, and unless you drive the GT right after the GT line or right before it, you're not gonna really notice that they cut a lot of costs. All the materials in here are still super nice materials. The seats are super comfortable. You still have GT line embroidered. Nice back seat area, and you still have the great looks that the Stinger has. It's just an overall killer package. Only thing I noticed right off the bat that's super different, especially from the GT2 that we're going to be testing next, is the shifter. But this is also found, this exact shifter is found in the GT base and the GT1 Stingers. So if you were comparing back to back, that wouldn't really be too obvious. You only have heated seats here, not ventilated like the GT. And the screen is a little bit smaller. That's about it. The interior remains pretty darn close to what the GT is. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hit the road and see what it's like. Right off the bat, you are going to notice that 4-cylinder sound. There's really no avoiding that whatsoever. But under load, it does sound very similar to the 6-cylinder. You can kind of hear it just a little bit. That noise is pumped into the cabin a little bit, but it's definitely welcome. In some tight, twistier corners. What's nice about the 2-liter is the motor is definitely lighter than the 6-cylinder. Even though it still has a ton of thrust behind it. But like I was saying, the 4-cylinder has a lighter front end than the GT. What does that mean? It means that handling is just a little bit crisp. It's a lot crisper than I remember last driving a GT line. It's very eager to change directions. It's very nimble. Now, I'm driving the GT next, so I'll kind of update. I haven't driven that yet today, so I'll update you. But even so, with that lighter front end, it does reduce the weight just a little bit. So even though you're down over 100 horsepower from the V6, it still moves along at a pretty good rate. Because of the smaller wheels, you also get a very nice ride. The tires have a bit more sidewall, which gives them a bit more give over potholes and bumps. Something that really surprises me, especially about the 2-liter Stinger, is the leasing rates that these cars have. Oftentimes, because I'm with the marketing department, we'll see the monthly specials, and every month I'm surprised just how low the monthly payments are on these. You can get these under $300 a month with very little down. That's very, very surprising to me. I mean, obviously that changes month to month based on your credit, stuff like that. But the amount of car that you're getting for $300 a month, that is absolutely spectacular. Put that into perspective, a car that some people have compared this car to, and I think it's a fair comparison just based on the two different cars, the Subaru WRX versus the Stinger. The WRX base with the cloth seats and all that, those go for about $280 a month, and that's $10,000 less than this car. And that shows in the interior. The interior of the GT line is miles above the WRX. Everything is just a lot nicer, and you're not really sacrificing too much in the way of performance advantages with the WRX either. WRX has a little bit more horsepower, and maybe it might go around an autocross course a bit faster, but you're still all-wheel drive. You still have a turbocharged 4-cylinder, and you're right about the same price. That just puts everything into perspective of how much of a bargain the GT line is. I think this is a perfect car, and one that you should definitely look at if you are looking at cars such as the Optima Turbo, your Honda Accord 2-liter Sport. Cars like that. This is a great entry-level luxury car. And the fact I'm saying that about a Kia shows how far the Kia brand has come. Now I can already see the comments and the question: is the GT worth the $20,000 difference? Well, there's only one way to find out, so let's take the Stinger GT out. Alright, behind the wheel of the Stinger GT2. Oh, man. So, remember what I said about the interior not being too different? That doesn't mean it's not different. The seats definitely feel a little bit different. I don't know if they use a higher quality leather. It definitely feels like it. You also have adjustable bolsters. So when you change modes, these side bolsters here inflate and deflate. So now they just deflated a bit and moved out. Now that we're in comfort mode, put it back into sport and it hugs you really well. That's all. See, that's a feature that BMW's had. And what's funny is, in developing the Stinger GT, Albert Biermann, the previous head of BMW and the M Performance division, used his engineering on this car. And that's a feature that was in high performance BMWs when he was in charge. So that's pretty cool. I'll leave that one there. But pretty cool. Visor does slide. Nice aluminum depending on where you're from. Wireless charging. Bunch of really neat little features throughout. Steering wheel feels amazing in your hand. Same basic steering wheel as what's in the GT line. Finished all throughout here. Instead of plastic material, it's now leather. Pretty nice addition, if I might say so myself. Back seat obviously looks similar. Do have a nice sunroof. Screen is a little bit different too, bit bigger, and the biggest difference is really this area right here. That is by far the biggest difference. You now have the electronic parking brake. Cooled seats, heated steering wheel, park assist. The camera view you can change. It's pretty cool. Really, really cool. Enough of me blabbering around. Let's go for a drive. And there's a gopher. Groundhog, gopher, same thing. You do get a nice heads-up display that is very welcome, especially at the price point. Oh, that's sensational. So let's talk about driving characteristics and the differences between the two. This feels a lot more planted. It feels a lot more sorted, and that might be down to the tires too. Tires make a huge difference in how a car performs, because if you think about it, the four tires are the only thing touching the ground. At least they should be the only thing touching the ground. Steering has a fantastic weight to it, and you're not going to notice it on camera, but I just felt it there. It's very rear biased, really eager to move around. It's a pretty cool little fun feature. It's a very rear biased all-wheel drive system. You can actually get a rear-wheel drive Stinger. Full rear-wheel drive. I don't know if we have any in inventory, because if we did, I would have driven one just to see what the comparison's like, because I've heard the steering feel is a bit different just because the front wheels aren't being powered. But man, oh man. Like I was saying with the comparison from the 335 to the M3, it feels just like that. This is M3 level of refinement. I didn't really like the M3 when I drove it. I drove it for like maybe 15 minutes with a salesperson right next to me that was very adamant on granny driving. But it just, it wasn't crazy good. I'll have to try another one and see. But this is so good. The front wheels are so planted down. It hunkers down and it just performs. Like I said before, these two cars are totally different cars. It's kind of funny, and I'm not sure if it's just me losing my mind or what, but I almost feel like the 2-liter is a little bit more nimble, kind of fun to check around. This is more capable, but the 2-liter has a little bit of a fun little, yay, spirit, let's go. This is a luxury car. I don't know if it's the price in the back of my head playing tricks on me, but I don't know, the 2-liter has a little playful characteristic, kind of like a WRX would. Whereas this, I think it's so capable, and you're not going to reach its limits on public roads without going to jail. You're at that point. So in that aspect, the GT line might be a little bit more fun on main roads and city roads and stuff like that. You put this on a track and the GT line wouldn't see which way was left. It's that capable. So the real question is the GT worth the 20 grand? Absolutely. It is phenomenal. I mean, you can't. You cover up that badge and you're thinking Mercedes, BMW. Wow. So yeah, I would shell out the extra $20,000 for one of these. But if I was in a financial situation where the GT line was my limit, I would not be disappointed to drive home. You wouldn't walk home in a car. To drive home with a GT line. These two cars are extremely different in driving characteristics. They all have their little differences that make them unique from each other, and it's not just a Stinger GT with a 2-liter. They drive really different, and if you're in the market for either, I highly suggest you drive both, because you never know which one's going to cater to your needs more. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one.